What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of my podcast, And Then Came Me. I am the Lotus, and I will be your host tonight. As always, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to stop by and listen to this podcast, or if you're watching it here on YouTube. I want to make a quick disclaimer, give you guys a little bit of an update before I get into tonight's podcast. So I'm gonna make it really quick because your girl got a lot going on. So as many of you may know, if you follow me on Instagram, then you may have seen that yesterday I got my very first official office space for my business, which is Pure Eudaimonia, and I make all natural cosmetics. Prior, I was Beauty by Nichols Cosmetics, but then I rebranded everything, and I talked about that earlier on the channel here, so you can watch that video and kind of get caught up on that. But I got my first official office space, so I'm really excited about that. I spent some time yesterday trying to get some stuff moved in, and that's actually what I was doing before I sat down to record today, which was packing up the car and trying to get everything that I have been doing in my room for the past 2 years out and moved. So I'm actually going to take all the stuff up there after I'm done recording the podcast. And it's never like me to sit and record the podcast the day of. Like, I never do this. So the day that you're seeing this is the day that I recorded it. But I just could not fall through on y'all and not have this uploaded, because this podcast really means so much to me. Being able to sit down and talk to you guys, and then chat with you live later on every Friday at 7 o'clock. So it's something that I really look forward to. And more than anything, I feel like it would have been a disappointment to myself to have not been able to upload and show up for you guys. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about my business, or if you want to see maybe like a little tour of the office once I get everything set up, we can definitely do that. I am looking more towards being able to post 2 videos a week for you guys. Yay! Because my Friday posts are more so just my podcast, but I have a lot of other stuff that I would like to talk about. So I'm trying to get caught up so that I can be able to upload twice a week. I'm going to apologize in advance if you hear my dogs barking today, or if you hear like the train going past or anything like that, just because I usually get up very early to record these podcasts before anybody else is awake in the house or moving around, just so that you don't hear anything, because this microphone picks up on everything. The last thing that I wanted to touch base on about the space is, there's literally an airplane outside. But the last thing I wanted to touch base on about the space is I am looking to I am looking to actually recreate my recording space that I have here in my room in the office space, just so that I can have a more quiet environment to be able to record basically whenever I want to. So I'm not sure if you're going to see me here in this space next week, or if you're just going to see me there in the office, kind of just blank background. I worked really hard on this space because I had this whole idea of what I wanted in my room to be able to sit down and record for you guys. And this has been in the making for over 2 years as well. And I just finally was able to get all of this pulled together. So now I love my space so much here. I want to recreate it, because I'm not pulling this down. Like, I love it. It's my favorite. So I just I'm going to have to recreate the space there. So y'all just gonna have to bear with me through these changes, and it's gonna be really exciting, and I feel like we having a good year, y'all. It's gonna be a really good year, and I have so much stuff coming for you guys, and it's just gonna be amazing. Make sure you check the description box, or follow me on Instagram at Pure Eudaimonia, or you can check out the website pureeudaimonia.com. Again, it'll be in the description box, because I know that is hard for everybody to spell, but it will be there if you want to check it out. All natural cosmetics are on the way, but I do have like my shirts and my stickers and all that good stuff up there still. So if you want to check that out, you can. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into this week's podcast, because your girl is on a time crunch. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So last week we touched base on being able to identify our bad behaviors. I pretty much took you on a trip through a typical day in my early childhood home and gave you an idea of the environment that I grew up in. That way you could have a better understanding of how the people that we grow up around and the situations we witness shape how we become later on in life. I kind of touched base on how my father was controlling and just had a bad temper and stuff like that, and how I have picked up myself on some of those ways. It was just pretty much all about bad internal programming from the start. I told you guys for this week's podcast we would skip over some of my own personal stories so that we could get right down to the root of things, which is how do we cope properly with the things that we have been through so that we can resolve the internal damage that has been done and stop it from repeating. I would first like to say that I am no doctor, nor do I have a degree in any type of mental health field or medical in general. This is just a gentle reminder that I am just here to give you guidance based off of my own personal experiences. So the first step that we're going to talk about is recognizing that there is a possibility that you do have bad internal programming from early childhood experiences. I've definitely sat through my fair share of AA meetings, and of course, the first step is always admitting that you have a problem, simply because you cannot solve a problem that you don't think you have. So think about the way that you operate. Just take the past few days into account. Did you have a point where you absolutely overreacted to a situation? Maybe something small caused you to have a meltdown, or maybe your kid made a simple mistake and you started yelling at them and telling them something that your parent would have told you as a child. For example, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. That's something we pretty much all heard. Or, fix your face, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. How about a possible miscommunication with a friend or partner that resulted in you saying something hurtful to them or just completely shutting down on them? And no, I'm not talking about just today or yesterday because they were hard days and you just so happen to lose your cool. I'm talking about something that seems to be a pattern. You react this way every single time. Those were just a couple examples. So this is going to take us right into step 2. After you've identified something that may be considered a bad or toxic behavior that you have, take a second to think about where else in your life you've experienced it. Because history repeats itself. At some point, were you that child that made the mistake and your parent lashed out at you for not knowing or doing better than they expected of you? At some point, were you the friend that was wondering why one of your best friends cut you off for a week straight or said something hurtful to you over the smallest misunderstanding? Once you identify where else in your life that you've experienced what you're now dishing out, think about how it made you feel at that time. Were you sad, hurt, confused, maybe disappointed? This brings us right into step 3, which is think about the effect that your action is now having on the people around you. Would you want your child, friend, partner, or anybody else that is coming into contact with you on a daily basis to feel the exact feelings that you felt at that time? If the answer is yes, I want you to think about why. Do you feel like they deserved it? Everything we do in life, I would say, is cause and effect. So yes, if a person has been treating you badly over a period of time, you will end up eventually gathering some sort of resentment towards them, whether you know it or not. And in return, they now may be receiving these bad or toxic behaviors from you as an effect of what they have done to you. However, if this is the case, you will at some point need to get away from this person, because giving out negative energy for the negative energy that you are receiving will never give you anything positive in your life. But that in itself is a topic and a story for a whole nother day. Back to the original question. If the answer was no, you would not want them to feel the feelings that you felt then, now is the time that we start step number 5. This is actually going to be step number 4. Y'all, I'm so tired. I just completely skipped number 4, went straight into number 5, and then just went on from there. But this is actually number 4, and then so on and so forth. I told y'all I was tired. I'm out here trying to get stuff done. But okay, I'm going to let you get back to the video now. Which is asking ourselves, how could we avoid responding this way? And what would be the better way to respond? The best thing that you can ever do before responding to a situation is to count backwards from 10. This gives you a whole 10 seconds to actually think before you speak. And I know, especially for myself, I have a problem with that because, somebody gets you upset, your feelings are hurt, you're mad, whatever, the first thing you want to do is just shoot right off. Whatever is going on in your mind, you just want to just shoot it out. Especially if they're saying something mean or hurtful to you, your first response is going to be to just let me say something even more hurtful back. But we cannot do that. So you have to try to keep a neutral tone with your response to things, because more often than not, if you raise your voice, the other person is going to meet you exactly where you're at. Now, think about a time that somebody started yelling at you, where you just like, oh, please stop yelling at me. You raised your voice right back at them. More likely, more often than not, that's what a person is going to do, because you taking it there. So I'm going to just follow you. Lastly, do your best to respond in a way that is effective, even if that means agreeing to disagree with a person. You should never walk away from a discussion with a negative charge. Neutral beats a blank. Because you got to think about it. You just argued with somebody and now you're walking away and you're all upset about it. So if we can just come to the agreement of agreeing to disagree, I'm not mad, you're not mad. We're just like, all right, this is just what it is. There's nothing I can say that's going to change your mind. So we're just going to agree to disagree and leave it at that. And you really have to understand that not everybody in the world is going to agree with you. A lot of people in the world are not going to agree with you. So if you are steadily trying to fight these battles with people, you're going to have a problem. You're going to be tired, you're going to be exhausted, and you're just not going to have a good overall energy about anything, because you're going to be fighting battles every day. It's what people say, you have to pick your battles. Like, is it really that serious for me to sit here and go back and forth with you over it? Or should I just tell you, we just going to agree to disagree and leave it at that? This actually brings me to a sidebar about the whole thing. Now, it's easier said than done to say, yeah, take a step back, count down from 10, and then respond or agree to disagree. I want you all to realize that the only person that you can control is you. We can only really diffuse ourselves and not allow another person to be in control of our responses. This is even true for myself, because I used to always say, well, they made me mad, or they made me sad, or they hurt my feelings, or just always somebody else made me feel this way. But the reality of it is, nobody can control our emotions but us. I've been seeing a therapist pretty much since I was about 14 years old, and this really has given me a lot of insight on a lot of things in my life. Because therapy is cool, y'all. I don't care what nobody says. If you went through some type of trauma in your life, you can go and see somebody. I don't care. Back in the day, it used to be a taboo thing, like, oh, she sees a therapist, like you got something wrong with you. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of people should be seeing a therapist. So we'll just leave that where that's at. But it's definitely, from my experience, I can say that it has helped me look at things from a different perspective. So one day I was at the therapist and I was telling her something that happened. I don't remember the story exactly, but basically someone made me mad. So she gave me this example. So I want you to kind of keep this in mind the next time that you feel like somebody's making you mad. If a person got on the bus and bumped into you pretty hard and didn't say sorry, would you be mad? My immediate answer to her was yes, of course I would be mad. And she proceeded to ask me why. And I said, because they bumped into me and they didn't say anything. She said, okay, that's fine. Now, what if that same thing happened and you could see that they were blind and in a hurry to reach the seat before the bus started moving? Would you still be mad? And now, you don't want to be an asshole. So it's like, because now you're like, damn, the person's blind. They trying to hurry up and get to the seat for the bus pull off and they fall down and fucking break their neck. So of course now my answer is no. Like, unless you're an asshole, that's the only time your answer is going to be yes. You got to be some type of asshole to be like, yeah, I'm going to fucking beat this blind person up. So my answer was no. And she then met me again with the same question of why? Like, why now are you not mad? And my answer was, because they're blind. How am I be mad about that? And she said, exactly. So just like that, you made the decision on what your response is and how you will feel. The other person was never in control of that. Only you. And you know what? After she said that, that really hit for me, because the little bit of a difference made a whole lot of a difference. So that it was the same exact thing. They did this. Person still got on here. They still bumped into you hard as hell. And Just because they were blind, now you're not mad about it. But you weren't mad about it because at this point you could see the surface of the problem. You could see that they were blind. You could see that they had something going on. So a lot of times in life, a person, we can still use the example of somebody bumping into you. Somebody may get on the bus and bump into you and they are not blind. They look perfectly fine. But you have to think about the things that are under the surface. They may have something going on. They may have just had a family member pass away. They may have just lost their job. They may be getting ready to get evicted. Like, we have no idea. And this is really, really why we need to be kind to everybody, because we have no idea what's going on under the surface. And the easiest thing for us to do is just be nice. It's the easiest thing for us to do. So back to the point, the other person was never in control of your feelings, only you were. And this is extremely true. People can only do what you allow. And that used to irritate me for a person to say, well, a person can only do what you allow. Like, they're being rude as hell to me. What are you talking about? A person is only going to do what I allow. But it's true. A person can only do to you what you allow. If you're going to allow a person to continue to treat you badly, that's on you. At this point in my life, I realize that I don't have to deal with anybody that is not pouring into me the same way that I am pouring into them. So I'm not going to keep extending a hand, an arm, a foot, a leg, a rope, a fucking lifeboat, or anything to anybody that would not be doing the same thing for me. That doesn't mean you have to be mean to a person or shit on them or talk bad about them. It just means you just don't overextend yourself. And I am the queen of overextending myself to people that I should never have overextended myself for. That's another story though. So, the song by Lauryn Hill really just rings true to me for this because, it could all be so simple. This should absolutely be like the anthem for our lives because it really could all be so simple, but we'd rather make it hard. Because as humans, that's what we do. We just make things harder on ourselves than they have to be. Sometimes it's not even the situation that's hard. It's our responses to them that make them hard. And this is going to be my last point before I start to digress. You put a very happy, uplifted, free-spirited person in a hard situation. You also take a very Debbie Downer type of person that thinks the world is out to get just them. It rains harder over them than anybody else in the world, and put them in that exact same situation. Who do you think it will be easier for? The first person, right? The little happy person. But in reality, it's not any easier for the first person. The first person just chooses how they let things affect them. So ultimately, it's all about our perspective in life. It's all about how we choose to respond to things. I didn't really write anything else out after that because that's my last point. But ultimately, it's really about how we respond to things. And I know it's very hard to go into certain situations and be happy about it and just be like, I'm just gonna keep being happy no matter what happens to me. It's very, very hard. And actually, it's not natural to just constantly be happy. But when you get to a point of just feeling down about something, it just makes it 10 times harder. So I'll give you this as an example. I'll give you the example of going to work. So you have a person that loves to go to work. I love to go to work. I love to go to work. We deal with hard situations, people screaming in our faces, but I love my job. It's just so great and it's just so happy, and the day just goes by so quickly for me. And then you have another person that just hates their job. They hate dealing with these people that have attitudes and want to scream in their face, and they in return scream back in their face, and they're constantly getting pulled into the office for saying some little slick stuff. And it's just like the way that you choose to respond to things really, it really determines how you're gonna feel ultimately, because you just used all your energy to sit up here and scream and holler back with the people that's yelling at you. Now you got to go get pulled into the office and deal with your boss. Now you're gonna get written up, or maybe you get sent home, and that's gonna result in you losing money from your paycheck or whatever. So it just creates like a domino effect. Like I said, everything is cause and effect. So it creates a domino effect of, now I was pissed off because I fucking hate this job, and now I'm getting sent home, I got written up, and I lost out on money. So the first person just let the stuff roll off their back. It doesn't mean that they didn't feel a certain type of way about it, but they let it roll off their back. They didn't let them they didn't let it consume them. And I am really bad at this, at letting stuff consume me. And this is something that we're going to have to talk about. I don't know if we're going to do it next week or a couple weeks out, but we got to stop letting stuff consume us, because I can make the smallest mistake and be thinking about it for weeks. And we have to realize that it really doesn't matter. My problem is I realize that it doesn't matter, but I still think about it. So I don't know what that is, but yeah, I can remember a mistake that I made in the first grade, and when I lay in bed at night, it just makes me cringe. So that's something I'm gonna have to put some work in on myself. But it's really just back to the main point. It's really ultimately how we respond to things. So I'm not saying let a person abuse you in any way, shape, or form. I'm the number one advocate for standing up for yourself, because for a lot of years in my life, I did not do that. These days, I don't have the tolerance. I don't have to be mean to you. I don't have to be nasty to you, but you will respect me. And that's just that. And that goes for anybody. That goes for friends. That goes for family. That goes for anybody that thinks that they're supposed to be some type of superior to you, whether it's a job or anything like that. We often fall into these cycles of letting a person abuse us because we think that there's some type of superior to us. So for me, like a boss, I would always let like my boss just say whatever to me because, well, it's my boss, and how am I going to say something back? These days, honey, I will quit a job so fast. And you know what I'm saying? If you're going to a person and you're like, hey, you know, you're doing this or you're saying this to me, and I really don't like that. Could you not? And they just continue to do that, whatever you're asking them to not do. At this point, honey, you just giving me the sign to just exit stage left. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And I'm not putting in no 2-week notice, because you should have noticed 2 weeks ago when you was yelling in my face that I was thinking about quitting. So here we are. Don't call my phone. So yeah, this is why I type things out, because I start to get so off track, because I could tell you so many stories and side stories, but that was pretty much all I had to really touch on for today. It's just to try to keep a good perspective in things. And it's okay to feel sad, or it's okay to feel mad, but let it pass. Don't spend more than 5 minutes on it, really. And 5 minutes is even too much. Just feel whatever you're going to feel, let it pass, and go on about your day. Correct people when they're wrong. Let them know when they're doing something that you don't like. And just try to be in control of your responses. Because again, meeting a negative with a negative is never going to give you a positive. Okay, so sorry. The camera cut off and I don't know why, but that was my sign to go ahead and shut everything down so that I can get this edited and get it starting to be uploaded for you guys so that I can see y'all at 7 o'clock tonight. And I'm going to run up here and take care of this stuff. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. I hope what I said made sense to you, because I know at the end I kind of started rambling. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, go ahead and leave me a comment below. Hey, and I just really want to let y'all know this too. It's good if you could just leave me a comment, like a little smiley face or a little heart or something below, because that does help with like my YouTube algorithm and stuff. So if you came in here at any point, just leave me a little smiley face or something down there in the comments. Make sure you like the video. If you want to share it with somebody that you feel needs to hear it, then feel free to do that as well. And thank you guys so much, as always, for taking the time out of your day to stop by and listen to or watch the podcast. And I will see you guys next week. And I can't wait to show y'all this office and stuff. And I'm going to start doing a little bit of vlogging for you guys. So I can't wait. Thank you guys so much. I am the Lotus, and you can be too. Bye.